Okay, this isn't a word of encouragement to my fellow neurodivergents out there. It's not a piece of potential advice to any neurotypicals out there. This is just a struggle. So, something I struggle with is that, relatively speaking, by comparison, I am a very cluttered, messy, not hoarding, but like I am not a clean person with regard to my stuff, and I have a lot of stuff. And it for me, it's an executive function issue. It's that if I have an object, um, here's an object. If I have an object and I pick a place that I'm comfortable, and usually it's a long term decision. Like, I'm aware of this. This isn't some usually a haphazard decision. I I decide that the best place that I know that I can keep this object, the most in the way place sometimes, or that I know the inevitable, because of my struggles, the inevitable pile that will cover the first object will force me to figure out what to do with this classification of object. So, this might not be a good example, but a piece of certain kind of mail that I haven't um, figured out how to store because it is a document that I will need long term. Um, I haven't figured out a filing system. I don't have a physical place on earth that I can put this thing. I will make it obvious what it is, and I'll pick a spot and I'll put it there. And this isn't a solution. Like, I'm just sharing my struggle. Like, this is what I do. It's not great. And if I have more objects, I've designated this spot. I'm gonna take the next thing that goes with that stuff I need to sort out, and it might not be as obvious that it's that thing, so I might put it underneath so that I have my visual image of the first object is still the way I'm thinking of that pile. And but it's an executive function thing. Like, I know that the pile's probably going to get out of hand before I figure it out, but part of the struggle isn't that I can't decide, it's that I need time to pass, because time is a pervasive struggle, or a pervasive issue throughout most of my struggles, and that I haven't sorted out yet. But I need to know how big the issue is, because if a year goes by and I've got 4 pieces of clutter that go in that pile, well, then I can just throw that in a file folder with something else, or something. For instance, this is just one example, but it's kind of just like I need a period of time to know how big of a thing this is, because if a week goes by and I've got 30 things there that go in that category, well, then I'm able to extrapolate out over months and years and say, okay, well, I can't do that. Like, that's unsustainable. So I can maybe reevaluate, lower, or raise the threshold, whatever it is, of the types of things that I'm holding on to. But if it's sustainable, if it's a letter a month from an organization, like about retirement or something, like, it's a piece of paper. I can fit 12 pieces of paper for a year. That's sustainable. Even if it's a large file by the time I retire or something. But that's the kind of thing I can know. But a big part of my piles of clutter is it's basically a physical manifestation, a physical representation of a mental issue that I haven't sorted out. And sometimes it's because, like I said, I don't know the size of the issue that needs sorting out, but often it's just that I need to see everything, because, to a degree, I'll use this figure of speech that I don't really love. I do get lost in the details because I, quote unquote, can't see the bigger picture. It's because there is no known bigger picture that's all encompassing of all the things I will need to know. So I need to let the pile accumulate so that I can get the bigger picture as it relates to that specific struggle. So, um, that's two parts of it. I need to know how big the struggle is, and I honestly might not know how to work it out. And so I'm buying time, time until I can figure it out. But then there's another thing that's just our comfort levels with clutter. So, you know, I might let a pile uh, get this big before I decide that I'm going to do something about it. But another person might say, okay, it sat there a week. Uh, it might be a time thing and have nothing to do with the size of the pile, because it's not their pile. If I got stuff on my desk, it's my stuff to sort out, and anyways. But it's just the difference in thresholds. So it might not be that I wouldn't eventually do something with that clutter. It's just that my threshold is much further out than yours is. If you have a lower tolerance for clutter, especially someone else's clutter, then it's gonna be feel like it's problematic to you when it's not your problem. It's if it's in a shared space, then that's different. But um, yeah, because of those other things, I have a higher threshold for the point at which I will address it. So I realized I totally left off the fact that I feel stuck in this physical creation, and that I don't have a great memory, and so that uh, if I store things away merely because they need to be put away for social reasons or societal reasons, and I don't actually have it put there because of I figured something out, like I'm gonna forget it exists. Like that's not hyperbole, that's not an exaggeration. I will forget the thing exists. Now, even putting it somewhere with a reason, I'll probably forget it exists. But to put something away, um, just to get it put away, like I forget things exist. I mean, I have, yes, that's why I don't store things in, I don't like to store things in the cabinets behind the doors. If we have an open cabinet or a built in, like that's where I prefer things to go that need to be used regularly, not just so they're more accessible, but so that I remember they exist. Yeah. Yeah, this is just me trying to be open and real, and this that's my best understanding of how I struggle. Now, like I said, time is an aspect of this that I'm still a long way from sorting out, but I can sort that out apart from uh, really understanding how time relates to so many of my struggles. So, yeah, that's just a struggle. I don't have any recommendations. I mean, I could give you some, but like it'd just be something I read, some cleaning tips or some organizational tips, but they're not things that work for me because they don't solve my problems as I understand my problems. Like they could sidestep, a specific pile of clutter or a different pile of clutter or a certain thing, but really the problem's in here. Like the problem is in here with so many things, and I just need to get a workaround that I'm really not. I mean, I feel like I could spout something out, but I don't know what my workaround is going to end up being, because it needs to be something that's deeper than um, how I behave. That's the problem, is that so many things about the way we live our lives are seen as problems with the way we behave, when that's just a manifestation of our inner struggles. So I'm trying to solve the inner struggle so that I don't have to have another rules based system around how I behave around this pile of stuff and that pile of stuff. And then, oh, well, I didn't know I needed to apply it to that because that's a different pile of stuff. And I didn't kick my rules in. And I'm trying to change the way I think about things at a much deeper level so that I'm not dealing with everything as a one off or as some rule that I have to remember, just so that my behavior has a similar enough appearance that it's not so always upsetting to people. So hopefully, it's at least encouraging to hear that, that's what it sounds like for me to be experiencing a struggle. um, maybe you can relate to that, maybe not, but at least hopefully you can hear it, and maybe that'll help you give someone else grace who has a struggle, to know that it's not that they don't care or they're not trying to figure it out. It's just maybe it's a lot deeper than uh, you realized, and just solving one little problem as it manifests, uh, that you might have a constant complaint about. Maybe it's not that they don't care, it's just that it's bigger than that, and they want to figure out what their problem is around it, not just remember that, oh, that thing annoys that person. So, yeah, for what it's worth, that's my take on it as of right now.